Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So on our last video, we've made a starter. And this time, as we said last week, we're going to continue and start to make a main. The recipe we're going to be making today is called the chicken Bercy. It is a simple sauté chicken that comes with a sauce from the same name called the sauce Bercy. That sauce is one of the quintessential building block of sauce making, and it is a sauce that is taught to students in the first year at culinary school. Why? Because it outlines the very basic of the famous sauté déglacé technique, which is sauté a piece of meat, deglaze with a bit of wine and shallot, add some stock and have a basic brown sauce. Now the good thing and the reason I want to do that sauce is that because it is a sauce that is extremely versatile. You can make it with beef, you can make it with chicken if you want, like here, and you can also make it with fish. It's got also a bit of a history. That sauce dates back from the 19th century. And legend has it, it was invented on the bank on the River Seine in the area of Bercy in Paris. That was the trading port and one of the epicenter of wine trading back then. That sauce, the sauce Bercy, was named so because it was a brown sauce known to be made with two little things: shallots from the local markets and lots of wine. And this is what I've got here. Of course, you're going to need a stock. I've got behind me my home-style demi-glace, link in the video description and on the screen. Can be made in 30 minutes, and if you don't have that, you can use a simple pre-made stock from the shop. It will work as well. Let's go. It always fascinates me in French cooking how very simple and rudimentary ingredients can be used to make really something good. And here, as you can see, it's not much. The star of the show is really the shallots. You want lots of shallots, at least 50 grams for 4 chicken thighs here. And a little glass of wine, maybe 100 ml, 150 ml if you want. We're going to reduce it anyway. And some stock. So this is the home style demi-glace I'm talking about. What is it? It is simply a store-bought stock, a veal stock that I've enhanced in flavor by cooking it with a mix of aromatics and chicken wings that I've chopped up and browned. So you get more color and more flavor. And this is kind of the result. But still, we're going to have to reduce this even more because that sauce is an instant sauce. That means once the chicken is ready, it has been sauteed, it's colored, it's cooked. We're going to have to make the sauce, but really quick. We're not going to spend too much time reducing the whole lot. So time is always of the essence. And now let's begin the recipe. Of course, before you start, make sure you've measured your wine, you finely chop your shallots, you've chopped as well a tablespoon worth of parsley, and you have your stock ready. We're going to be cooking here the chicken in a sauté pan, in a tablespoon of oil with about 20 grams of butter. It's a bit the Escoffier style on here. And we're going to use a medium heat because we don't want to burn the butter on here, and we're going to take it easy to color the chicken. So I'm just going to wait for my pan to come to temperature here. And then we're going to put the chicken thighs skin side down. Now butter tends to burn at very high temperature, but it can still take quite some heat. As you can see here, even if you start on medium-high, you're still fine. But I always prefer to really start easy and let these thighs cook slowly and color slowly rather than starting at a very raging heat and try to burn everything. And we've got 20 to 25 minutes, so there's no rush at all. Make sure it's seasoned, salt and pepper. Okay, and I'm going to start by leaving this for a good, 5, even 10 minutes, slowly on this side until it is colored. And in the meantime, we're going to be taking care of the stock. And now for the stock. So I've got about 400 ml of my home-style demi-glace. It's already tasty, it's got that nice color, but I want to reduce it as much as I can. So I'm going to reduce it by half so that I'm left with about 200 ml. And that is going to really save a lot of time when my chicken is ready, because as soon as the chicken is ready, I'm going to pour that reduced stock, and the reducing time that I'm going to have to make my sauce is going to be kept to a minimum, and it also concentrates the flavor. If you have a store-bought stock, you may want to prefer starting perhaps with like 2 cups, something like this, half a liter, and reduce this by half or even to 200 ml, because it can get hard sometimes to really get these flavors going with store-bought stock. So now back to the chicken. It's been cooking gently, and let's have a look. It's been look at this, almost a good 10 minutes in there. Look at the colors. See, very slowly, it's getting a nice coloring. I'm going to turn it. And if your chicken renders too much fat from the skin, mine was quite fatty, use a spoon and remove the excess. Always be in control. Don't leave too much fat in there. You want some, but you don't want like too much of it, or it's going to start to boil, almost like a deep frying effect. Another thing that can be done as well, to make sure it cooks properly, you can use a lid. You don't want to cover the whole thing totally, but you can kind of loosely cover it like this to keep the heat in there, okay? But make sure there's not too much, water vapor that forms and goes into the pan. My stock is now ready, it has reduced, but one of the problems you can encounter a lot of time with stock, even from the shop, is that they're gonna be still very liquid. In the professional world, you have to use what's called a thickened stock. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna thicken it with about 1.5 tablespoons of arrowroot, which is a little bit like cornstarch. We've diluted with a tiny bit of water. Okay, so I'm mixing both of these together. I'm going to use a spoon, and all what you do is to mix that together, and you get a kind of a white paste. The problem with this, which is a bit like cornstarch that you will see, it's a nice method to thicken sauces, but it whitens the sauces. Look at the color. You see? It's a very whitish kind of color. So that's the bit of the drawback. But it really will help you to thicken it, to get that consistency of a sauce. So I'm mixing it like that, and I'm going to put this back in my pan, warm it up a little bit, and we're going to have the stock done. So I'm back on the stove, and look at what I've got now. What was really liquid now has got a kind of a semi-syrupy consistency, which is perfect and what you want when you make this kind of sauces. So when we say thicken sauce, it is usually that kind of consistency. You see, it's almost syrupy, and it's got that spoon coating power. Just a touch, but it's just enough. So you don't want to go any further than that, because we're going to thicken the sauce afterwards in the pan. So I can turn my heat off here. All what we need to wait now is for the chicken to be ready. Look at these lovely colors. My chicken is now ready. It's been a bit more than 25 minutes. Make sure you got an internal temperature of at least 75 or something like that. You can reduce your heat. I'm going to reserve this into a plate. I'm going to keep it warm, covered in foil, in the oven at 50 degrees Celsius, while we make the sauce. And now the chicken is resting, is in the oven. Now we've got a good 10 minutes. We can do the sauce. So this brown stuff is what you want. This is the golden, the gold that you want. There's quite some fat in there. Usually, you'll get rid of the excess of fat, but here we've got a lot of shallots to work with. So I'm going to go to a medium heat. I don't want to burn too much or anything. And I'm just going to take plenty of shallots in here. Reduce my heat, because we're going to want to use this fat to cook the shallots in there, you see? And very quickly they will absorb and start to cook. So if it's too dry, you're gonna have a problem really to cook this shallot. And we're gonna spend a good 3 minutes or more and wait until the shallots are cooked. Now shallots cook very quickly compared to onions, okay? But it's important that you wait until they are cooked, because once you add the wine, they will absolutely stop cooking. Now the most important here is not to burn the shallots. You don't want that. So you want to reduce your heat as much as you can while this is cooking, and you can raise your heat after, when we're going to do the famous deglazing. So sauté is what we've done with the meat. Okay, we're adding the shallot, and now we're going to be ready for the déglacé, which is the deglazing. This is where we're going to detach all the caramelized juices from the pan. That's good enough. My shallots are cooked now. I'm going to raise my heat and get ready to pour that wine in. Okay, so just want to raise the heat a little bit. I'm going to put it on really high. And you can see what's going to happen here. So you can see it starts to sizzle a bit more. And I'm not going to wait too long, and all the wine in. If you want, you can put more. And what we're going to do here is to use that big quantity of wine to detach. We call it les sucs de cuisson in French. It is all these caramelized juices. So you want to slowly scrap, don't force it too much, and let it go, let it boil. Just a minute or two max. So I've been scraping and swirling my pan over, and look how clean the pan is now. It was full of brown bits, and now it's absolutely clean. This sauce, by the way, is one of the very rare sauce where you can actually leave 2 or 3 tablespoons of wine behind. So you can see the amount of liquid that I've got here. It's quite a lot. So this is the wine with the shallot, and you got that nice concoction. And you really want to start to thicken a little bit, but you don't want to get it totally dry. You want to keep some of that juices. And from here, absolutely easy. All what you're gonna do is to add the rest of your sauce. And then same thing, gonna bring to the boil, and this is when I told you that time is of the essence. If we did not reduce our stock and we had, imagine, half a liter of stock in there, you'll be standing in front of your pan for 15 minutes. So here, all what we need to do is bring this to a little boil, reduce a tiny bit for just a few minutes, and that's gonna be it. We're gonna be done. After a few minutes, there you have it. This is the ancestor of all brown sauce, the bare bone sauce, the basic brown sauce with shallot, called the sauce Bercy. I can turn my heat off, and you got two options here. You can go the rustic way, which is just using the sauce as is with the shallot and pour it over your meat, or you can filter the sauce to get rid of the shallot. If, for instance, you think the shallot did not cook properly, that's an easy way out. You can pass this through a sieve and have the sauce with the taste of the shallots, but without the shallot. But there's one final step, of course, that we always do in French cooking, and that is called monter la sauce au beurre. We need a little bit of butter. And all it is, when the heat is off, you put 10 or 20 grams of butter, and you're gonna slowly swirl your pan and let the butter melt. And that action really tends to give a gloss to your sauce and also a nice taste. And that buttery taste is made out of cream butter. And we're done, look at this. We went from that kind of brownish color to now a more chestnutty color with a shine and a gloss, and look at that sauce. It's very rudimentary, but it's time to taste. The butter absolutely adds something. Shallots are cooked, it's great, and I like the acidity that you still have in there. Some people add a little bit of lemon juice if you want it more acidic. And it's time for the seasoning. I think the salt is all right, but what I will add is a little bit of freshly ground black pepper in there. Okay. Never use a whisk, by the way, when you finish a sauce, otherwise it can whiten the sauce. Always a spoon or just swirl into the pan. And that's about it. We're done, we're ready to serve. Now remember, this dish is a very rudimentary dish. It was something that was served in small eateries on the go. You would have the meat like this, and you would be served that sauce that you've created. So all what you need to do, you can serve it on the sides, but the true form is really to have these shallots flowing over your chicken in here, and you want a good dollop of sauce. And it is a very simple but well executed brown sauce, you see, and a little bit of parsley on top without excess just seals the deal. And then we have it with better angle. This is the chicken à la Bercy, a sauté chicken served with the sauce Bercy, and I think this sauce is actually very, very important because it is the #1 sauce you want to master to have this sauté déglacé technique under your belt. So you're gonna be learning of really getting this nice color of your meat. You have the caramelized juices. You can make your own stock, use some wine, and you go from this gesture of, you know, cooking your meat, adding your wine, waiting for it to reduce, get the right texture, that syrupy consistency, thicken your sauce, add your stock, and at the end, you got a beautiful, tangy brown sauce, well balanced, well seasoned. And if you want a bit more tanginess with a bit of lemon, and it is beautiful on chicken. I've tasted it again, it is great. So I will leave you with this picture. As always, please have a go at making that sauce and tell me what you think in the comment section. As for me, as I said, I will see you then next time for a dessert, and we'll complete our first rotation of starter, main, and dessert. I'll see you then.